Welcome to the Din Don Show. I'm Din.
And I'm Don, and
And
we're here for some fun!
Alright guys, we've got a really fun video for you today. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about Godzilla vs. Kong!
Woo! Yeah! We're stoked. We just watched a compilation of all the trailers that came out. We're freaking stoked. I know that there's a lot of predictions, theories, videos out there explaining what their thoughts are, but so we thought we would jump on the bandwagon and join with them. Now, a disclaimer. We, at least I have, and I don't know if you have, we have not looked at any other websites. We have not looked at any other theory videos. We have only watched the trailers and used our knowledge of...
We've watched one theory trailer, with theory video, the one with the skills.
Okay. So there's
That's
one.
it.
Okay, so there's one video we did watch. We'll get there in a minute. But there was one video we did watch, but it wasn't really anything about what the movie's going to be about,
No.
what who's going to be in it, why this, why that. Nothing like that. It was more of a stats video comparing the stats to Kong, to Godzilla, and who...
Based on stats.
Based on stats, who would win? So, but we're not going to count that because that's not really a story plot-driven kind of thing. It's more it's more just kind of like a fun idea to see like who legitimately would win.
Right.
So what this is coming off of is what we think is going to happen. Now, I will say one of the trailers we did see was the actors being interviewed about the movie. And
They didn't get very much information about the movie, of course, because they have a non-disclosure agreement that they had to have signed, right? Of course, but go ahead.
No, this is all from our own brains or out of our own butts, whichever you prefer. And here we go. So, which one should we start off first? Want to just go down the list?
Yeah, let's just go down the list. So, of course, the big question right around that we want to make right here is, who would win, Godzilla or Kong?
Now, if you go back to that stats video we were talking about, and then why don't you link that down in the description?
Ding!
Yeah, we'll link it for you so you can look it up if you want. It's actually kind of a cool video. I know there was a update video to it. I think it talked about something else. We'll get there in a minute, but I didn't watch that.
I haven't watched that one either yet.
Who's gonna win? I know back from the old Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong, like the one made back in the 1940s or 50s.
I want to think it was 60s.
Was it 60s? Maybe it was.
I think
don't
it
know.
was 60s.
It was way back. That Kong won. Kind of a similar story though, where they had to fly Kong from the island over to Godzilla to fight him, and Kong won. Also, Kong had electrical powers in that one.
I didn't know that one.
Don't ask me why.
That's a little
he could
weird.
Shoot lightning from his fingers, so whatever. But here's what I think is gonna happen. Then you chime in anytime.
Go right ahead.
This is gonna be hard. I don't think there's gonna be a winner. I don't think that they're going to end the movie saying Kong won or Godzilla won. I think it's going to end in a stalemate. I think that they're going to be both evenly matched to a point where nothing can really be done, and they go their separate ways. Or something's going to happen in the movie where Kong and Godzilla put aside their differences and fight against their main enemy.
And this is where my theory comes in. So, my theory is exactly what Don said. There's going to be a third element coming into this. We don't know what it is. We do have a bunch of theories, though. And especially from some of the trailers, there's very, very highly, I don't even know,
there's a really big hint.
Just a hint. There we go. There's a really big hint of what's going to happen. But I've had this theory since the beginning of seeing the very first trailer without this new trailer coming in. And that's going to be Mecha Godzilla is coming into the scene, and they're both going to be fighting Mecha Godzilla at that point. And in the trailers, in almost every single trailer, they always keep asking, why is Godzilla on a rampage? Why is he on a rampage? What's going on? And honestly, we were talking about this, and what we came up with was that when they built Mecha Godzilla, they did two things. They built it over the original bones of the older Godzilla, at least the skeleton in the first Godzilla of 2014.
And this is our thought. It could be a different one, but this is
Could
our
be.
thought.
Yeah, this is our thoughts. And then the second element of it is the thing that's powering that is a giant reactor. That's a nuclear reactor, which is making Godzilla his alarm sounds going off, and making him think, wait, there is another Alpha Titan around here somewhere besides Kong.
There's something producing enough radiation that's as big as him, or maybe bigger. We're not really sure how big this Mecha Godzilla is going to be, but it's big enough to set him astir, and now he's trying to find it, and he might take this as a threat too of humanity impeding on his territory, on his land, on his world. So now he's trying to take it back, and in a way, as Dan put it at one time, that that he's lost his trust with humanity.
Like, because at that point, I mean, in Godzilla King of Monsters, King of the Monsters, excuse me, we were there at the very beginning. We're talking about a symbiotic relationship, and now at that point, if the symbiotic relationship starts becoming unbalanced at that point, and the basically the one that's bigger and helps the smaller one, at that point, if the smaller one starts to rise up and the big one starts to have a threat against the smaller one, of course the symbiotic relationship is going to be cut. There's no more at that point. So at that point, I think that's what Godzilla is feeling at that point, and that's what he's sensing.
So that's our big thought. There have been I haven't seen like any really main trailer like on a commercial on YouTube or on the television where it shows Mechagodzilla appearing, but at the end of one of the trailers, they show briefly this kind of grayish thing rising from the ground, and it has like red spines, and then a light up eye that looks like Godzilla's face. And so that's why we're thinking, okay, so Godzilla's really going to be in this one, unless
Mechagodzilla's going to be in this one.
Mechagodzilla's going to be in this one, unless they decide to make that an end trailer scene.
And if they make that an end trailer scene, oh my
We're gonna
God.
be really mad. I'm gonna be impressed. I'm gonna be like, hey, you got me to come, but I really hate you right now, Warner Brothers and Legendary.
Yeah.
So, but that's our big thought, and that's why I think that there's going to be a stalemate between Kong and Godzilla.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. There's going to be stalemate, and Mechagodzilla is going to come in, and that's why the whole Godzilla was going on a rampage in the first place.
Also, the idea of them building Mechagodzilla over the bones of Godzilla, that's happened before in Tokyo SOS. And one before that, I've never seen the Godzilla before that one, but there's another one where they built a new Mechagodzilla, but it's built upon the bones of the old past Mechagodzilla. In fact, I think it was the very first one from the movie back in the 1950s.
That makes sense, actually.
So
when you said the bones of the first Mechagodzilla, you mean the actual Godzilla?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, we're confused. We're just excited. We're stoked. Anyway, moving on. Why does Kong have a battle axe?
This is my biggest question on why he has a battle axe. I mean, the one thing in the first main trailer that confused me the most was this: with Kong having a battle axe that could block Godzilla's atomic breath.
Yeah,
that made no sense to me at first, but when more trailers started coming out, and all of a sudden we're starting to see Kong in this area with floating rocks, this is where I was like, okay, maybe he found this battle axe in this area type of a thing, and it absorbs radiation, and that's basically what Godzilla's breath is just a focused beam of radiation and atomic breath.
But as we start talking about it and thinking about it, there's comments in the movie where they say that we can take Kong through a hole in Antarctica, meaning the hollow Earth, meaning they're going back to the hollow Earth theory. They make a mention to that, and what we're thinking, and we also know that there is. They always say that there was an ancient rivalry between the Godzillas and the Kongs, and what we're thinking is that this area where Kong finds this, I call it the space axe, because that's what it looks like.
It totally looks like a space axe. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But what I think is going to happen is that part of the story, where we're focusing on Kong, is he's going to go into the center of the Earth, or at least journey through the hollow Earth, and he's going to see areas that defy physics. That hence why you see this area with floating rocks, and then they're flying because in the Earth. Maybe the magnetic poles are different, and so gravity might change, or how elements interact in that area change. And he's going to find a place where his ancient people gathered and actually had these space-like weapons that can help fight off the Kongs, especially absorbing their atomic breath.
No, I mean that's a very good point, and honestly, that would explain why you would have the battle axe.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking a little bit about why they would be floating rocks and everything like that. We were thinking because we were talking about Antarctica, and that's where the South Pole is, and everything like that. Because if you have a diagram of the Earth's magnetic shield right here,
Magnetic field.
Shield.
You've been correcting me this whole time.
Okay.
I get to correct you.
It's literally basically like a giant donut. If you look at it from the top, because it just comes out, goes around, and comes back in. And so at that point, that's where we're thinking that these floating rocks are coming into place, and maybe that this battle axe has like one of these floating rocks, and it's able to absorb the radiation.
Absorb radiation or energy. Yeah. So that's our thought. If you have any differing thoughts, let us know.
Please, I really want to hear your thoughts about Kong's axe. I really do.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool thing, and it's only comes out in a couple weeks. We already mentioned, why is Godzilla on a rampage? We think that he's trying to find Mecha Godzilla, or there's something that has a giant radiation signature on it that is making him feel threatened, and so he's attacking humanity.
Yeah, really, the only other thing that would make Godzilla be like this, honestly, would be Mecha Godzilla or Mecha King Ghidorah.
Right.
That would be the only thing. And honestly, in King of the Monsters, they really, really hinted at Mecha King Ghidorah.
Yeah, or somehow Ghidorah is going to return, whether that's going to be mechanized or not. I'm pretty sure it's going to be mechanized, but...
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But at the same time, with our last video, our concern was the remains of King Ghidorah. Is it enough to make Mecha King Ghidorah?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm leaning more towards Mecha Godzilla rather than Mecha King Ghidorah.
So, next thing.
Okay, so this was my little thing that I had. My little issue with Kong, he looks like he's way older than he should be. Now, don't get me wrong, Don gave a very good point about this, which was it's been 44 years since the Vietnam War.
Yeah, so if you remember in Skull Island, that took place around 1973, which was the end, it's when they started to draw American troops out of Vietnam. And then that's then springboards Skull Island to happen. Now, like I said, it's nearly been about 44 years since that happened. So he's gonna look old.
But I have a problem with that because Titans, as far as I know, Titans and Kaijus, they age differently. Like, yes, 44 years, you'd be a lot older at that point. But at the same time, I honestly still feel like it's reverse dog years.
Hey, he's got this thing called reverse dog years. It took me forever to finally understand it. I'm sitting there thinking, like, what? He's got Benjamin Button disease and he looks younger the time goes on. You don't say. You gotta say opposite dog years. I don't know.
Okay, my theory of reverse dog years is this. Basically, that for a dog, one of our years is 7 years for a dog, right? So reverse that, and 7 of our human years is like 1 year for Kong, or for Godzilla, for example. Is that number exact? Probably not. But that's my issue with
now,
it.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Kong is going to age differently than humans. I don't know how old he was in Skull Island. I know he's not...
Skull Island, he said they were still very young.
Yeah, he's still growing. But he... It's still 44 years is a lot of time.
No, you are right. You are right.
You gotta also understand that Godzilla is a lizard, and the older something gets, you see wrinkles. Well, a lizard is just all wrinkles. So you're not going to be able to really tell how old Kong is. Plus, not to mention, Kong is a different species than Godzilla.
No, you are right. You are right about that. And considering that Godzilla,
easy there.
Kong, I want to say, I don't know why I was going to say Godzilla versus when I was going to say Kong. Anyways, Kong is more of a humanoid than Godzilla is.
Yeah.
And so at that point, yeah, he would age more realistically, or similarly towards humans rather than obviously like Godzilla. who's
Yeah.
just a giant lizard.
So I think it makes sense for him to look a little bit older, but he just complains, and I give him an answer, and he's not satisfied with it. This was something interesting we thought of: is why is there a barrier around Skull Island?
The more I think about it, I'm not sure if that's actually Skull Island.
And see, I had that thought too, actually, but I didn't tell you about that.
Mm-hmm.
So my first thought was is that when Monarch finally became funded by the government, was able to kind of was able to do what it wanted, it built a force field around Skull Island. And so I considered that maybe that's why, is to help keep people out of it, help it stay hidden, help it look camouflaged from the world. But then I also considered too that maybe it is a hologram to make it look like Skull Island for Kong. And it's a big enough area, it's a big enough playpen, animal pen, zoo place, whatever, for King Kong to run around in.
And honestly, the reason why I agree with him with that is because in almost every single of the trailers so far, it says that Kong needs a new home.
Yeah.
And that's really why at that point, why I think of why at least think English hard. It's my first language too. Well, technically it's my second. Anyways, long story short, that when Kong needs a new home, and they were going through Antarctica at that point, and they probably put him in this new place. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe that's the end of the show.
I don't think it would be the end of the show.
What if it's the end of the show? Maybe
it could be.
Maybe they give Kong a new home and they put him in this holographic place.
That could be another way how it was a stalemate.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
And they're just like,
maybe it's all a simulation. Maybe they're just trying to see if Kong really can fight against Godzilla. And the whole thing's Kong's in the Matrix. He is the chosen one. Anyway, so just an interesting thought. So there's the one thinking that they put a barrier around Skull Island, or he's in some sort of place where he can be kept safe. Or
honestly, I was thinking to relate it to maybe like those who have read the Hunger Games, like those battle arenas, because they were all domes and stuff like that. The biomes and stuff like that.
I could see that. Where are we next? Who is this girl that Kong protects?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one that we were thinking about, because at the end of Skull Island, there's no, as far as we know, the only people that are on the island are the natives. So we started getting talking, and we're like, who is this girl? Now, we have to keep in mind, it's been 44 years since the last Kong movie. And so at that point, Monarch probably hasn't released all of the information in that time period, and maybe another flight came over and crashed, and she just happened to be, unfortunately, one of the people that survived there. And then Kong comes and basically rescues her, because he's got a soft spot for women, apparently.
You're not wrong.
And ends up saving her and ends up protecting her, where they have this link. And since this girl, we've actually done a little bit of research that she actually is deaf. This little girl is deaf in real life. That she actually taught Kong sign language.
Yeah. So like that sign like this, when he does this, that actually does mean home in American Sign Language. Which then makes me wonder is if she might be American.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Or if they're just using American Sign Language as
because it's an American movie.
Because it's an American movie. But it is very interesting to think about that, because you never see the girl speak in any of the trailers. And when we watched the one trailer where they did interviews of the different cast members, she actually did sign. She did sign to the camera, and I was like, wow, so she is deaf. It's amazing. It's cool. But I think I kind of do agree with Tandon that wow, that's his name. It's Din. Yeah. Wow. It's been a long day. I lost my train of thought.
You agree with me?
I agree with you that maybe she isn't a native. At first I thought maybe she was a native, but more and more we kind of think about it and talk about it, she might not be a native. And she may have just been, and we might not know her backstory. She may have just been left on the island for something. So, next thing. They make a reference to an ancient rivalry.
See, this one I'm not 100% sure about. Like, I'm very, very confused about this ancient rivalry, because they don't mention it in Godzilla 2014, they don't mention it in Kong, then all of a sudden, or even in King of the Monsters, except for Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, then all of a sudden they're saying this ancient rivalry. And this is honestly why I'm confused not necessarily confused or keep going back and forth between Mecha Godzilla and Mecha King Ghidorah, because the ancient rivalry is between Godzilla and King Ghidorah, right? And so I don't know.
Well, and maybe it's not really like a giant ancient rivalry, like a race of Kongs versus a race of Godzilla. Maybe it's a race of Kongs against one Godzilla.
Or it could just be boil it even down and simplify it even more. It's just alpha versus alpha.
Yeah. Or it could just, or alpha versus alpha, or maybe it's a story of like an ancient Kong people who saw Godzillas and they decided to fight back. I mean, it's interesting to think about. What we do know is that this ancient rivalry is what created the space axe, and we wonder. And then this ancient rivalry eventually was found maybe in the Hollow Earth somewhere. That's where they made the space axe. Maybe there was a battle there. I don't know, but this may be one of the reasons why there aren't as many members of the Kongs today as there are today. Given the skull crawlers are what killed a lot of the Kongs, but we don't know much about this ancient rivalry.
We don't know, and that's why I'm kind of scratching my head, because they didn't allude to it at all.
But they say the myths are real. What myths? Like the myths of the space axe, the myths of there being a big battle. And let's be honest. Like, is Godzilla just this guy that like everybody fights against like for thousands and thousands of years? Is he just this big monolith dude?
I don't know, but I honestly don't think I don't think it's the same Godzilla every single time, because obviously in past Godzillas and the other Godzillas there's been one main Godzilla, but that Godzilla always has a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the cycle keeps continuing forward.
Yeah.
And so, but again, we don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot we're still missing. So, but these are our big thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to include about? Let me look through our list really quickly.
If we had to boil it down to, let's say if we had to pick a side,
which is funny because in the movie it's going to be two different stories. It's going to be story of Kong, story of Godzilla, and eventually they're going to meet up in the middle. So you better start making your bets, and you better start making your you better start I don't even know what I'm saying. You better pick Team Jacob or Team Edward.
If you comment down below, who do you choose, Godzilla
or Kong?
Who are you choosing? I want to know. We want to know. Because honestly, I'm Team Godzilla all the way. I am Team Godzilla.
And see, this is the hard thing for me because I am a Godzilla sucker. I've liked Godzilla longer than I've liked Kong, and I think I do want him to win. But there is a part of me that I think it's going to be hard to watch them both fight.
Right.
Because they're both beloved titans. I mean, it's like watching Mothra get killed in King of the Monsters. You love Mothra.
Everybody loves Mothra, and that was hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Not to mention too, they made Kong kind of have a personality in Skull Island, and so that's gonna make it really hard too, because you're gonna see the emotions of Kong, and you're gonna see the emotions of Godzilla as much as you can see the emotions of a giant lizard.
So at that point, who would you choose, Godzilla or Kong?
I gotta go with my boy Godzilla. So we're both Godzilla guys. So, but again, like I said, I don't think there's really gonna be one winner. I think there's gonna be a stalemate. So
I completely agree, and that's where Mecha Godzilla is gonna come in to play. I really do think I'm leaning more towards Mecha Godzilla than anything.
Yeah,
and I think that's why Godzilla's mad.
That's why he
kind of just tie this all up in a nice bow at that point.
We done messed up, so he's got to clean it up.
Exactly.
Well, what are your thoughts? Comment down below. If you like this video, consider liking it and subscribing to our channel. Comment down below. Let us know what we can improve on in the future, what your thoughts are about us. And until next time, I'm Don.
And I'm Din.
And we've been here
for the win.